it's the vinyl community.
It's just vinyl community. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, venture capitalists?
Or the Viet Cong. All right. Welcome in. Thanks for joining us for another SNOB versus Douche. I'm going to talk about some indie music. I'm going to do something I'm going to call 2x2. So ahead of time, I selected two albums, forced Matt, the SNOB, to listen to them. And likewise, he selected two albums and forced me to listen to them. And then we're gonna talk about them. Then later on, we're going to discuss our favorite albums of 2023. We've just cut over from the first half of the year. We're 6 months in. We're over 6 months in as we're recording this. Yeah, so we'll highlight some of our highlights of albums from 2023. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. That first quarter, I feel like there was a lot of heavy hitters. Some of them didn't land great for me personally. But this quarter I was struggling, and I have listened to more new music than probably ever before, just trying to find decent stuff. But I did, in the end, find some decent stuff, and actually a couple of my favorites were from the previous quarter. I just hadn't dug enough. And somehow you always come up with, your picks are always not on my radar. So congratulations on that.
Okay.
You're always adding new stuff to the list. But I was pleasantly surprised so far. Yeah.
So the albums, we'll get started in a second, but the albums that you selected because you like them?
I selected them, yeah, because they're my favorites.
Okay, maybe we should just get started. So we'll take turns. I'll start with one of my selections, then you go and so forth.
Absolutely.
So the first one, I'm going to say up front, I did not formulate opinions on these before I picked them.
Oh, okay.
So this first one is, what's that?
We have different methods, apparently.
Yeah. So this first one is Fifth LP. It's a band out of Vancouver, Canada. I think before they were in Toronto. So the band called Tough Age, and the album is Waiting Here. It's kind of another one of these kind of like Flying Nun inspired, jangly, buzzy guitar pop bands. It occasionally is a little more maybe on the droney side, I would say. There's even a little bit of twee pop involved. What did you think of this album?
Overall, I dug it. It really read as if they were Yo La Tengo disciples to me. Very heavily Yo La Tengo influence there. I will say I liked the female vocalist, those songs, better than the male vocalist. But yeah, I mean, I haven't dug fully into it as I usually do, but I've listened to it a handful of times. And yeah, overall, I enjoy it. It seems pretty good. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice job.
I'm glad you liked it. So if we had done,
you didn't form any opinions on it?
I'm about to give you them. So if we had done this, if we had done this discussion a week earlier, I would have said I don't like this album. Okay. And I mean that from the standpoint of the whole album. I feel like I don't like half of it. And I listened to it again. I've probably listened to this a dozen times. And I don't know the reason I kept listening to it. I know a lot of people like this record. I don't like it as a whole. I would say, like, I also think that the female, I like the songs sung by the female vocalist better. Some of the songs feel like throwaways. And so the album is about a half hour long. And I feel like I could make I really like the songs that I like. I guess is what I'm trying to say. And then the other songs, I'm just like, they don't fit to me in the scheme of an album.
Yeah, I certainly detected some low points. Like the first song was kind of throwaway to me.
Right, like the first. I like the first song, and then it just feels like it doesn't. It just nothing happens.
Yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I'm now. I feel like I'm being a little too hard, on it. The songs that I like, I really like, and then there's just. But then, I'm judging it. I'm judging it as a whole piece.
Yep.
Half of it I don't care for as much as I really like the other half. That's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely see that. And like I said, I haven't totally dug into it yet. You know, if you harken back to what I shared in our first video, I'm super nerd about this stuff, and I actually go through and review. And I'm halfway through that. I haven't fully gotten through the process, but yeah, I mean, I like what I've heard so far. But like I said, possibly a little derivative of Yo La Tengo. But you know,
it might be one of these. It might be one of these things where I listen to it again in a few months and I'm like more on board. But I really did try, because on paper, it feels like I should like it more.
Yeah, absolutely. So now it's my turn to give a pick, right?
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going to start with Island of Love. Their self-titled record came out this year. I think it was like May or something. It's their debut full length. They are a London-based indie rock quartet, and they're signed to the London arm of Jack White's Third Man label. I think the first signee over there. Definitely. Well, I won't say anything more. I'll just ask you what you thought of it.
So I did like it. Man, like that. If you told me that Jay Mascis played on that for the first track, like I would believe it. Like it totally has that Dinosaur Jr. vibe, and in places. SST Records. I'll say that I think there's more than one vocalist. Okay. And one of the vocalists, the first time I listened to it, wasn't working for me. But I've warmed up to it after listening a few more times. Yeah, I don't know if I necessarily. I don't know if I love it, but I do like it. I do like it. It's a good record.
Yeah,
and I think that this is this kind of record. I think it feels like it would have a broader appeal, like to people like us, like broader, like I can see a lot of different people liking this sound.
Sure, like it could be a little more popular than your normal garden variety indie rock, which can sometimes be a little niche, certainly.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily saying like popular, but like broader appeal among people that like different kinds of indie music.
Yep.
That it would cross more of bounds.
That makes sense. And I completely agree with you on the Dinosaur Jr. Influence. I was hearing that pretty heavily as well.
Yeah.
There was another release this past year that I really enjoyed, Purling Hiss. I don't know if you checked that out at all, but that sounds also super Dino Jr. Influenced. But you know, I just kept on coming back to the record. I mean, like I said earlier on, this is why I picked them, is because they're my probably favorite of the quarter, since we're doing such a business business treatment of music here. Yeah, and it's just, you know, straightforward indie rock, fun, enjoyable to listen to, a lot of energy. I mean, that's what I need right now, and I think that's what the world needs also. Douche. Don't you? I mean, don't you feel like
I would like to see that live?
Maybe it's just me, but it's just a lot of depressing music. And and a lot of it is really good, but I don't know. It loses me after a while. I need something to keep my energy up, and this does it. So that's my take.
That's your take.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we both like that. It's Island of Love, self-titled.
Yep.
On Third Man, right? Third Man, Jack White. All right, so let's do my next selection. This is also my selection. I feel like in this case is an upbeat album. This is
both of them were.
I think they're from Sydney, called Body Type, all female. Maybe say pop punk or power pop quartet. They released an album last year that kind of flew under the radar. I guess this one probably is as well. But I think the album that they released last year had been slated to come out in 2020, but they pushed it back because something weird happened in 2020.
Yep.
Yeah, Body Type, Expired Candy. So their second LP. What do you think of this one?
I enjoyed it. It's certainly up my alley. I like the female-led pop stuff. It really, that first track, I know we're talking a lot about what it's reminding us of, but Catatonia, for some reason, it really was reading to me like that, like sort of an offshoot of that or influenced by it. Australian,
the 90s or the 90s British band.
Yeah,
Catatonia.
Maybe a little bit of Lush.
There's another Catatonia that's like a metal band.
Oh, sure. Yeah, not that one. Yeah, the UK.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
yeah, I dug it. I haven't dug into it quite as much as I want to yet, but I was hearing a lot of good tracks, and good stuff.
Yeah, I also like this one, and it's growing on me more and more. I like the kind of confrontational, sometimes somewhat humorous lyrics. Kind of has that, like gang vocals, like cheerleader, almost like cheerleader style vocals at times. Mm-hmm. I think it's a solid record. There's a lot of good music in Australia.
What label are we talking here? Do you know offhand?
Off the top of my head, I think it's Poison City.
Poison City. Okay, not familiar.
Is it? I don't know.
It is. Yeah, you were correct. I'm not familiar with Poison City at all, but I've been hearing a lot of good stuff from out of Australia for whatever reason. But good stuff. All right, so my next pick or last pick is the new one. It's a new collaboration from JPEGMAFIA and Danny Brown. The album is called "Scaring the Hose."
Yeah.
So it's their first collaboration. JPEGMAFIA is a New York rapper producer. It's been around for a while. I think he has like 4 full-length albums, and then Danny Brown is a well-known Detroit rapper that's been around and gotten pretty popular the last couple of years. Really good stuff, interesting stuff from him. But it's their first collaboration, that's all I'll say. What did you think of it? I know you're not super hip hop person. I know you like it, but you probably don't listen to a lot, right?
Yeah, I'm more into older for that 80s and 90s. So I like the production a lot. I like the production of the whole album. My issue is the heavily processed, like cartoon, when the vocals get like super cartoonish.
Sure.
After a while, that starts to grate on me.
Okay.
For me, I would take this better in chunks.
Okay.
Luckily, it's not a very long album. Like it's only like 35 minutes, I think. So I'd probably prefer to consume it in like a song at a time or a couple songs at a time, or an instrumental version of the album I would like.
Okay.
And I think that's kind of just me. I don't have a problem always with that style of vocal, but for some reason, you know, like I say, and this is another one where I listened to it a lot earlier in the week and then came back to it yesterday, and I was feeling like that was becoming less of an issue for me. So I like the lyricism. I think it's clever, but just something about the heavy auto tune kind of grates on me after a while. Like I said, taken in chunks, it's not as much of an issue. Also, again, maybe over time that's not going to be a problem for me. Maybe, yeah. Anyway, what do you think?
I mean, from the get-go, the first listen, what kind of caught me is I didn't understand what was going on. And I don't know about you, but I've listened to a lot of music, and I don't usually not understand what's going on. So that sort of drew me into it a little bit more. And so, it encouraged me to listen to it, because I wanted to know, I wanted to understand, and it was just every listen.
There's a lot going on.
There's really a lot going on. There's a lot of layers there.
Yeah.
I was thinking about it earlier, and it reminded me, and I mean, it has no direct correlation, but it's almost like I don't know if you're a fan, but a Frank Zappa record. If you listen to a Frank Zappa record, there's so many layers of what is going on musically, production, lyrics. Like, there's a lot going on. You can listen to those over and over again and find something new. Certainly with the musicianship and just everything that he poured into those. But it reminded me of that, in that, every listen you might catch on to something more, because there's just so much. I mean, I just really dug it. It seemed, kind of dangerous to me. And I enjoy my hip hop being dangerous, maybe a little angry, a lot of energy, possibly drug fueled. You know me. I don't partake, but I am happy to let the artists of the world take as many drugs and alcohol as possible, because it does in most cases, or in a lot of cases, I shouldn't say most cases, in a lot of cases, certainly has enhanced the creative and artistic abilities. It pushes people, so certainly there's a little bit of that going on, because it is kind of nuts, this record. And Danny Brown, his material in general is pretty out there and a little crazy. I'm not as familiar with JPEGMAFIA, but I certainly will be digging in a little bit more. I'm always, searching for new hip hop to get into. I kind of dropped off, in the underground hip hop of like 2001. That was kind of my, I haven't done much since then. I'm into Run the Jewels and, a handful of other artists, but this stuff is really good. I don't mind the auto-tuniness of it, or just the, overproduced, because it is very overwrought with digital. They're fucking with it a lot. And a lot of samples, a lot of really cool samples. But yeah, I was digging. Certainly this is in my running for album of the year. That's how much of it I enjoyed it. It's really, really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I saw that they made it as if it was like, they didn't use modern. What am I trying to say here? They didn't use Pro Tools.
Yeah, it's all done through like some specific hardware sampling machine or something like that.
Something they made it as if using the tools of the 90s. I think was kind of the way it was stated. But
and
definitely
motif here.
over the top, dense definitely like an over the top dense, like you're saying, a lot of layers.
Yeah. And they definitely went with sort of a blaxploitation 70s feel to like the artwork and the promotional materials. And that's fun. And, you know, I mean, I could do without the misogyny, like the scaring the hose thing, like, and that doesn't really ring for me, but it's so good and so much going on that I can kind of look past that and get over it. But yeah, a lot going on there.
All right. So it's our first edition of 2x2. Let's talk about, I don't know, talk about some of our favorite albums of the first half of the year 2023.
Yep. You want to go first?
Last time we talked, you had said you had one album that you liked from the year. How are you doing now?
Oh yeah, the last time we talked, it was Quasi.
You're feeling like a lot of the albums weren't hitting for you.
They weren't, and certainly, as I said, I struggled a little bit with Q2. I wasn't finding a lot until I stumbled onto the JPEGMAFIA Danny Brown record. You know, now that I've been through it and had a little time to reflect, I did end up digging in a little farther and finding a bunch of good stuff. Nothing that's, you know, blown me away quite like the Danny Brown JPEGMAFIA record. There's a handful of other indie rock records I've enjoyed. But yeah, Quasi was definitely the highlight of Q1. But I can just kind of list off a handful of things.
Just throw a few out.
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, Purling Hiss, they released a record on Drag City called Dragon Gerard. Very heavily Dinosaur Jr. influence. That was good stuff. Definitely check that out if you're a Dino Jr. fan. I really enjoyed the new Fruit Bats record. I mean, I enjoy all of Fruit Bats. Did you have a chance to check that out at all? Are you a fan?
I listened to it one time. It didn't really grab me, but I probably need to listen to it some more. But yeah,
sure.
No.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as good as the previous couple, but you know, it's definitely, you know, always good stuff released by Fruit Bats. Let's see what else we got. I was a little disappointed by the Beach House EP. I don't know if you listened to that at all.
Yeah, I did listen to it. I didn't particularly care for that EP, which is unusual. I really do like Beach House quite a bit.
I do too, but I guess it makes sense.
I really liked one better. Right? What's that?
I guess it makes sense because it's just outtakes from the previous record.
Right. And so this is one of these things I don't want to totally derail us, but I feel like they took songs that didn't make the cut to be on their very long album. So, you know what I mean? So that didn't make it onto this very long album. Yeah. And they put it on an EP and released it on Record Store Day. I don't want to go down the road, but I feel like it's almost just like a money grab. You know what I mean? It's just like, well, we can put these songs out.
Filling a Record Store Day requirement,
or who knows? It's not like it's awful. It's not like it's not like they just put out a garbage, but I don't like it nearly.
It didn't. There wasn't anything that really grabbed me on it.
Right.
Yeah. Beach Fossils, their album Bunny, out on Bayonet Records. Really enjoyed that. I had not been familiar with them previously. Definitely very similar to Div and a couple other bands that I was familiar with, but apparently they were around at the same time and I just had no idea. So definitely enjoyed that one. That was definitely in the running for the 2x2 picks. for me.
Yeah. I have that record. It's really slick. I almost feel somebody else said that to me too, but it's very clean. It's a little bit different to what I normally would listen to, I guess, but I do like it. I like it. Yeah,
sure. There was, let's see, the new Albert Hammond Jr. Record. I don't know if you're a fan of the Strokes, but it's the Strokes guitarist. He has a handful of solo records. He released a new one. I was pleasantly
I've not heard his solo records.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised by what I was hearing there. It was certainly uncovering
the style of the Strokes, or is it
different?
I mean,
basically that last Strokes record, it's in that style, and you can really understand where that came from. It's mainly from him. Certainly, what he is doing benefits from Julian Casablancas' vocals, and but what he can come up with just on his own is I was impressed with. So that was good. Haven't gotten to listen to the new 12 Rods yet. I don't know about you, but that's certainly on my list. That came out.
It's on my list. It's on my list.
Yep. And there's a handful of albums that sort of came out recently that have been getting a lot of attention. Wednesday, Rat Saw God off of Dead Oceans. Listen to that one. I liked overall what I was hearing because it was new and different. But in the end, I wasn't getting that it was a really great album. It was just a few tracks that I was really digging. Kind of the same thing with this band, Feeble Little Horse, released an album called Girl with Fish on Saddle Creek just recently. They're getting a lot of attention as well. Handful of songs really good, fairly unique sound, but wasn't totally blown away by the album. But yeah, for me, that's, the big indie pop release or indie rock release was the National First Two Pages of Frankenstein, released on 4AD, right? Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. 4AD, I'm a big fan of the National, but I wasn't bowled over by that one. I was a little disappointed. It was kind of just okay.
I did like that Wednesday. I like their Wednesday, that band. I like their album from a couple of years ago. Was on my year-end list.
What wasn't on your year-end list?
What's that?
What wasn't on your year-end list, Douche? 75. Can we get back to that? No, I'm kidding.
There was a few hundred other things that weren't on there. Okay, so I have a list of albums that I like. It's 180 albums from 2023 that I like. I've not tiered them though. And so I'm not gonna read off 180 albums. So what I did is I looked at the albums that I've streamed the most. And so I have the 20, which certainly isn't indicative necessarily of the best or things that I like the most. Take these albums that like sometimes I'm trying to get into something. I'm trying to like the tough age album. I'm trying to get into something. I'm listening to it more, so that can factor in. Just something to keep in mind. But I'll just go through these. I don't know if you need to stop me. They're in no particular order, but I think a lot of them a handful of them I talked about last time. So Facts, Still Life and Decay, they're FACS. They're from Chicago, kind of like a post-punk, post-rock thing.
Yep.
Something. RVG, Brainworms from Melbourne, Unattended Anna, Principia, The Tubs, Dead Meat. Those two I say all the time. London Odense Ensemble, the Jaid Sessions Volume 2. That's kind of a jazz thing. So here's one I wonder. Have you listened to Blonde Shell?
I tried.
You tried, you didn't like it. So I like that.
I couldn't get into it. It just
I didn't think that I would like it. And I think it's something about the vocals that just hit with me, I guess.
Okay.
Holiday Ghosts, Absolute Reality, Blues Lawyer, All in Good Time. A lot of this stuff, like people that watch my channel, I've talked about all this stuff. Sumo's Surfacing, that's one you might like. Lael Neal, Star Eater's Delight. I don't know if that's on Sub Pop.
That was on my list. I tried to listen to that. I mean, I always am paying attention to what Matador, Sub Pop, Merge, a couple other record labels are doing. But lately, I've found it hard to get into what they're releasing, and maybe it's just.
I think it kind of runs in streaks, or at least for me. This year, Sub Pop has put out some stuff that isn't necessarily up my alley, so it just might just be.
I feel like they're all diversifying more and more every year. They're doing different stuff, so it's not as consistent as it used to be. But
yeah, I think they're kind of branching out.
Yeah.
So overall, the Wave, the is one of kind of an oddball one, a pretty small Toronto group. Julian Never, Pious Fiction, Male, Attachment Styles, the National Honor Society, It's All the Distance Between Us, the album by the Reds, Pinks, and Purples, The Town That Cursed Your Name, Tanuki-chan, Gizmo. So it's interesting when I look at these are albums that I streamed a lot. A lot of them, I'm like, really? I like that record. It just like, it strikes. I'm like, wow, I listened to that much. Sure. This is the next one also. Index for Working Music somehow is on here. Dragging the Needle for the Kids at Uphole. Sometimes I'm like, so that's kind of maybe a record that took more to get into, and so maybe I was inclined to listen to it more.
I do that
Flying
sometimes.
Colors, You Never Know. I mentioned that before. And Amber Arcades, Barefoot on Diamond Road. It's just kind of weird. But when I look at this, obviously things that are more recent are disadvantaged because I'm, obviously has less time to be streamed. There's the new High Watermarks record, Your Next Wolf, that I liked. It's pretty new. Bedroom. I don't know if you know them. Is it BDRMM? Bedroom. The album's called I Don't Know. If you like Radiohead.
Okay.
A little shoegazy at times. This one not as much as their first record, but that album just came out very recently. Yeah, so that's some selection of albums released in 2023. Again, some of them there's probably a handful of them are for sure for me top 10 will be probably top 10 albums for me at the end of the year, and then others are perplexing to me how I've listened to them that much. But again, it's just one gauge. It's a gauge. It's probably a more interesting list than if I actually sat down and said, these are my 20 favorite albums.
Sure, yeah.
Because I feel like that just winds up being the same thing over and over again for me.
Or it's kind of skew to the albums that you're just trying to figure out for whatever reason you feel like you should like them, so you listen to them more, you give them more time, and sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't, right?
Yeah, like Tough Age. Yeah,
definitely. I did go back after we met the last time, and I revisited a couple of the records that you mentioned. I ended up really liking that Ad Astra. What? Trying to find it.
And it's Anna.
That's it. Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I found it. Oh yeah, that's going to be up there in the top 20, I think, for sure. There wasn't a song on that record that I did not enjoy. It took me a couple listens. I mean, you're talking an album that that rewards repeated listening. That was definitely one.
Really that's one of my favorites of the year, of the first half of the year, for sure. Top few for me, if not top. Yep.
Is it show and tell time yet?
Oh, you have something you want to show and tell? Let's do it.
I mean, you know, you're always your record collecting video. I got a little jealous, so I just thought I would show one of my recent picks. Do you recognize that record?
Husker Du.
Yep. Their last record. What is it? Warehouse Songs and Stories. Picked this up. This is an original pressing. Got it for $25. Really good price. I did not expect to find this for $25. Probably very good condition, I would say. You know, the jacket and the inside sleeve, you know, a little worn, but you know, what you would expect from an album that is this old, from 1987. So I just thought I would try to make some people jealous that I found that. So
that's good. Very good. All right, so I guess that's it.
Yeah.
Until we meet again, I guess we'll do something else. We'll see. Who knows?
We will. Maybe we can come up with some topics. Yeah. But feel free to add some of those picks to the Excel list. Yeah, I don't know if you want or not. Doesn't matter. I just try to keep it up just so I can get a good view of everything that's coming out. And you always have 10 or 20 that I'm not aware of. So I'm going to start something here at the end of the thing. Yeah, start it up, man.
It's interesting. I think I listen to a fair amount of records. Like, I listen to 3 to 5 Monday through Friday. I listen to 3 or 5 albums that I've not heard every day. So if you want to extrapolate that out, that's a lot of albums that I'm just
a lot.
Sometimes I'm not listening to the whole thing. I'm like, I can't do this, you know, but I listen to it enough to know if I like it or if I want to listen to it more or not.
I will certainly go on a tear and listen to a handful of, you know, 5 to 10 records in a sitting just to see if I'm even interested. But,
right.
And the ones I'm interested in, I find sparingly, and then I'll download them and actually listen to them. But yeah, that's a lot of records.
But what I was going to say is that even then, the list of for people, we don't really talk about this, but you have a list of releases, right? You have a spreadsheet with releases. Even then, many of the albums that you have on that list, I've not listened to. Yeah. It's just interesting. There's so much music, I guess I'm driving at. It's impossible to. That's why I think it's weird when I will see somebody or talk to somebody else say, this is the best. Well, let's just make something up. This is the best Zydeco record of 2023, hands down. And they'll be like, oh, how many Zydeco records did you listen to this year? And they're like, 2. And it's like, well, there's probably hundreds of other Zydeco records that you didn't listen to. How do you know this is the best one? Hands down, right? I don't know. It's just kind of like, in a way, it's kind of like, it's humbling that it's impossible. Just if you're just one person. Yeah. So we went pretty long, and I don't know if I ever really, we never, I'm just gonna cut it at some point. I don't know if I'll let's just say we're done.